This morning calm. And today we're taking a look at is the limits of the self-help movement. Now, I want to say that with self-help books, with self-help things, there obviously are times where they can give us great insights and great help and great relief. Especially if we struggle with sort of self-loathing, they can really give you some tools for that. But there's also some limits, and I do think it's really challenging when we confuse spiritual growth, mental health, those things with self-help, that if I just feel better about myself, that life will somehow turn out well. And it's, as I've said this before, and it's always just a little tricky as a pastor, because we live currently in a cultural time period where that's like the right answer. I can remember growing up and people saying, well, the right answer to a multiple choice test, if you don't know what it is always B. And it sort of feels a little bit that way to me now, my experience, that going through things, and people will always sort of, then they'll pull out this like, yeah, but you just need to feel good about yourself. And I would just urge us some caution around that. Life is clearly not about feeling bad about yourself. That's an important starting point. But if we get too consumed with just feeling good, just feeling good, I think we'll miss the point. And that's where we can confuse mental and spiritual health with feeling good. If we confuse the two, it can be a little bit of a challenge. We have to see it, folks, that so much of life has to be this orientation where we do take care of ourselves. It's not about self-neglect. It's not about self-loathing, but that we really work over the course of our lives to shift our perspective into being other focused. And that's the key, into being other focused. And there's a discipline to that. We looked last week, about the idea of we have skills and expression. And we live in an era where so much of life is about expression, because we can express ourselves so readily in our culture today. But we need to sort of throw it in reverse a little bit and really think, what are the skills there? And it's the same around self-forgetfulness, and the same ideas around service, the same ideas around altruism. There are real skills that we need to practice there that will get us out of our own headspace that tends to collapse in on itself, and create much, much, much healthier ways of looking at the world. And also, frankly, builds much better community. See, salvation in the end, it's not a private project. And a lot of the time it can be spun that way. Like, your job is just take care of your spirituality. And as long as your spirituality is good, none of the rest of it matters. And reality is really healthy spirituality, really healthy churches, really healthy synagogues, really healthy mosques, really healthy bodies. You talking about institutional bodies there. They really do have this looking outward at other people. And when that no longer happens, we're in trouble. And we'll say that's a cautionary tale too, for a time in which we live, where church, my experience is, it can be easily become a commodity, not a community. And the commodity just means it's just something we consume. So it very quickly can become just our own little private salvation project, instead of the idea it's about building community and then serving out. Now, sometimes that building of community and serving outward doesn't necessarily mean it's done with people just in your church per se, but it means that it's done as something where we continue to build out and continue to see, how do we actually build community here? How do we build community here? How do we build community? How do we build these things out? I think that's really significant. And it means that worship is going to look really different. A quote from Swedenborg that I particularly enjoy is one: "What else is a life of worship but a life of kindness?" It's this idea that worship is also just not some private salvation project, that worship actually has an expanded definition. Yes, there is the worship of a Sunday, which is important. It gets us out of ourselves, but that's the whole point. The point is for it to get us out of ourselves, not for it to be some sort of performative thing, but that it's really there to get us out of ourselves, get us out there into the world, sort of creating a little breath on Sunday that leads into a breathing out the rest of the week. I want to read you a beautiful line about that. And here it's talking about, this is from Genesis. Abram built an altar to Jehovah. So it's memorializing this thing. It's memorializing, saying this is an altar. This is a, if you think of it like a touchstone, might be the word we would use today, a touchstone for God. This is what he says. In an inner sense, worship means all union achieved through love and charity. We worship constantly. That's beautiful. When we have love and charity, in other words, charity is this idea of this servant's heart. When we have love and charity, outward worship is merely an effect. Angels worship in this way so they have a perpetual Sabbath. As a result, the Sabbath at a deeper level also symbolizes the Lord's kingdom. So it's this idea, folks, that we're constantly at worship. We're constantly worshiping God when we're in that loving place with a servant's heart. And think about that. That has implications in here, but in our external forms of worship, quote unquote, that's also very true. And that goes way beyond Sunday. And it's not sort of this sanctimonious, like, look at me, I'm worshiping all day long. It's not it at all. I think even there we just forget, quote unquote, we forget even that it's an act of worship because we're just into the act of service, which is what true worship is, 6 days out of 7. So that's the thought for today, folks. It's just to remember, self-help has its place, right? I really be leery about saying it has no place in the world because I'm sure many of us have been helped. I quote a lot of self-help literature when I preach. But note that it has limits, and note that we need to work within those limits, and we need to expand our lives out to be able to see a much bigger pictures out there. And to get to the point where it's just kind of like fading away a little bit, and we can be more and more about other oriented versus self oriented. So how does that look for you today, to be other oriented and worship thus so? I don't know, but it's kind of a fun little task for the day to really focus on others, move away from the focus of self as best you can today. So I hope that makes sense, dear friends. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a little breath. We're going to do a little prayer bell. We're going to do a little meditation, a little prayer, and then a blessing. So with that, dear friends, let's get a little breath and listen to the prayer bell. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's do a take a look here, see how folks are doing online. It's not into temptation. Excuse me there. Yeah, got some comments there. See if they load up here. Come on, Ellie. All right. Martha, good morning to you. I hope you're doing well. Jerry, have a great day, everybody. Totally agree. And Martha, yeah, that other oriented. And it's one of those messages, right? Like, I just, yeah, it just so constantly needs preached on because and I'm throwing me very much in the we there, we all forget it very quickly. We forget that it really has to be, we really have to work at making life other oriented. So thank you very much for sharing that. And now hopping over to another page, get some other comments here. All righty. Let's see what we got over here. Marcus, good morning to you. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Linda, always great to see you joining us, and same with you, Kim. All right, dear friends, that's what we have. I'm certainly wishing you all the very best today. And we're just going to close with a little reminder about how much your support matters to us here at New Church Live. Like our content, it's funded by viewers like you. Please consider becoming a sustaining supporter of New Church Live today. God bless, dear friends. Take care.